Well lads, today we're going over a book that is the best selling right now, and after reading it I can say it is definitely worth all the hype. I'm talking about Do Epic by Ankur Warikoo. To those of you who have not heard the name or the YouTube name, the YouTube handle Warikoo is a channel operated by the entrepreneur and content creator Ankur Warikoo. On this channel, he shares his experiences and thoughts on success and failure, money, life skills and upskilling, life advice, books, and relationships in general. Some of his favorite videos and the ones which I watched most recently from his channel were 17 books to read in 2022, 20 books you need to read, 20 books to read in your 20s, and NFTs explained in 10 minutes. I'm not exactly sure why I watched the last one. One of his policies that really resonates with me is cold emailing. A cold email is basically when you email someone without having any prior contact about, say for example, a startup you want to start and anything you want to tell them without any sort of prior contact. It can be said as the email equivalent of cold calling. Ankur Warikoo is also involved in a lot of charity. I read this thread while researching for this video, and it's an amazing thread on Twitter. I will link it in the description down below. It is super refreshing to read this. He helped the girl pay for her computer science engineering degree. So I'll leave the link in the description down below and you can read through it. I've binged his videos probably more than anyone else's last year, and I can say it was a ride to see him grow. So you get the picture. In this book right here, he has framed all of his experiences and thoughts and all his ideas into this book, along with his roadblocks and failures throughout his entire journey. And it's no surprise that he has named his book this, because this is his motto: do epic. His book has become the #1 best-selling in the criteria for books. It has crossed the likes of Ikigai, Atomic Habits, Grandmother's Bag of Stories, and even The Psychology of Money, out of which I have read 2, which is Ikigai and Atomic Habits. And I can say those were wonderfully marvelous books. So just to put into perspective how awesome this book is, there you go. This book comes in the non-fiction and self-help category. It is only available in hardcover for now. It is 286 pages with a relatively big font and enough space between all the margins. It can take an average reader 2 to 3 hours to speed read, or 3 to 4 hours while taking notes and taking a deep dive into the book. This book is divided into 6 parts: success and failure, habits, awareness, entrepreneurship, money, and relationships. This book is written in the way in which you can open any page and on one side you will see either a quote or a sentence from his life and an example or some sort of paragraph explaining it. This style of writing is pretty prevalent in the first 42 pages. Then we move on to mistakes I made in my 20s, where Ankur Warikoo has listed 19 mistakes he made when he was in his 20s. Out of these I've highlighted a few of them and I wanted to discuss them with you. If you don't want to know the contents of this part, please skip to this timestamp. The first one is, I tried really hard to please people. I wanted them to like me, to think highly of me, to speak highly of me. If your happiness depends on external validation, then your happiness depends on something you do not control. I really like this one, and it resonated with me because for a long time in my life I was that person who was like, first impression has to be good, gotta keep it awesome, gotta keep making it awesome, making everyone think that I am the best. At some point I was like, the first impression is important. It is definitely important, but it definitely is not the last impression. Life gives you enough times to make up for your errors and enough chances to go over anything wrong you might have done in the past. First impression is not the last impression. So at some point I just stopped caring about what people were thinking about me. I just kept on doing what I thought was right, what I wanted to do, as long as it was ethically and morally right. My logic behind this was that the people who are similar to me, and there must be people out there, will just like the things I'm doing anyway, and they will be drawn towards me. They will be the people I would not have to go out of my way to please, as they would just be happy with what I am currently doing. So I really resonated with this mistake. The second one is, I blamed myself for being late in the game. I was 29 with no money, jobless, and no clue. This happened with me for a long time. I blamed myself for starting YouTube in 2019, years after the world's biggest channels had already reached the pinnacle of YouTube. And I was like, what's the point in starting so late? It just wasn't the golden age of YouTube anymore. Everyone left, right and center has channels of their own, some doing important educational stuff and some just having fun. And I decided that as there were people out there watching things which were not mine, and my genre was something people were just not into, I decided that better 2019 than 2025. Better now than late or never. That was another one of his mistakes that I really liked. This is how I interpreted it, and he's written in the book that some run and some walk. Let's run then. Then we move on to mistakes I made in my 30s, which I want for you to read yourself, because he has specifically mentioned that he wants to see if his mistakes can work any magic for us and we can learn something from them. Now he goes on to present his failure resume, which he has also done in this video. And I really like the fact that he's done this. It's super interesting and kind of unique that he's given a failure resume. He's not listed the things that he's successfully done in his life, not the things that he's done different from everybody else. How many times he has failed in his life. I'm going to put up a few slides just to show up a little bit part of this book so you understand what the basic gist of this is. I like how he's called all his mistakes and failures scars, as scars remain on our body as a reminder of any mistake we have ever made in our life. Moving on to part 2, which is habits. I again want to speed through this part so as to not reveal too much, though I really like this one page on important skills that are not taught to us. There are so many things that our parents or our teachers do not tell us, and we have to experience it by going out there. Of course, nothing can replace experience. Obviously, we need to see things from our own eyes to truly understand them. But we can always be given a hint. We can always be taught what is coming and how to prepare for it. So this was a really interesting page and how I interpreted it. I also really like the ignoring policy, where he says if you feel someone is ignoring you, ask them. They might be going through some midlife crisis or some problem that you cannot solve for them, and they're just having a hectic time and they just don't have time to talk to you. Ask people. Asking is the best thing. What's the worst thing that can happen? They'll refuse to talk to you. If you want something, you ask, and the worst thing that can happen is you get refused. Just ask. Voicing your opinion is super important. Again, my interpretation of these lines. This part focuses more on discipline, habits, and focus, which I would like for you to discover yourself. Again, interestingly, I really like this one page where he goes over the true meaning of books and motivational videos. Books are not the answer. The thing we take away from them is the answer. Motivational videos certainly are not the answer. The way we turn our life into after watching those videos, that is the answer. And this really resonated with me again, because I've noticed out of the plethora of videos that are there on the internet on motivation and books, etc., we are just unable to apply that stuff to our lives. And that's what is useful about these videos. Otherwise, you can sit there and you wasted 5 minutes of your time watching a motivational video and you did nothing to apply it in your life. Again, I'm particularly fierce with the what others will think of you quotes, because I mentioned I had this problem. I used to want to please everyone. And I was like, everyone needs to know how good I am. And I just couldn't take criticism, and I just never could bear up with the haters. But after I read Phil Knight's Shoe Dog, Phil Knight is the founder of Nike. After I read that book, I was like, every single person who has ever made it big did not care what people thought about them. And since then, I've just not cared about what people thought of me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that a certain level of awareness is not needed. You need to have a certain level of awareness, and you need to be able to take constructive criticism. But the haters, ignore. Now he's gone over some really good productivity habits which he uses and he wants us to know. I recognized a bunch of them from this video, which was super insightful, and I watched it all the way from start to finish, not noticing where the 16 minutes had gone. So much for productivity. Anyways, I would again like for you to watch this video yourself, so I'll link it in the description down below, and with the hope that you watch it. After this, I want to skip over the next 3 parts of this book. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to keep the juice of this book exclusive to the book while not taking credit from the author. And also so that this video is not a full-on reveal or an audiobook. I want the people to get the book and support the author and keep the credit with the author. I don't want this to be a way that I'm freely giving out the book so you learn everything just from this video. So I'm skipping over these parts and moving straight on to part 6, which is relationships. I really like this page, in fact, on sympathy, empathy, and respect. Sympathy is a form of pity. It makes it sound like the person who is being sympathetic towards you thinks that they are above you. They are one step above you and they're looking down on you, and you are deserving of their pity. I don't want anyone's sympathy. I don't want anyone's pity. Empathy, on the other hand, is putting yourself in someone's shoes, putting yourself on par with someone and relating to how they are as an equal and how they're dealing with their problems. Finally, respect. Respect is when you look past someone's problems, look past how sullen they are, and tell them that they are handling it beautifully, and you adore them, you follow them, you like the way they are doing stuff. That is respect, which is what I have for so many people in my life, including, after reading this book, Ankur Warikoo. On that enigmatic note, thank you for sticking around till the end, and I'm going to end this video. Subscribe to the channel using the link in the description down below. Join the Discord. If you get the book, then make sure you send some pictures to me or to Ankur Warikoo himself on Twitter. I'll link his Twitter and his YouTube in the description down below, with the hope that you will visit both of them after this video. It was an absolute blast reviewing this book, and I really learned so much from it. I think this is probably the book which I've read the fastest. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for writing this book, Ankur Warikoo, and I'm gonna see you guys next time, or in the next video, whenever it comes out. Or Ankur Warikoo on Twitter himself. Great, Ankur Warikoo on Twitter. It was an absolute blast reviewing this video. Wow.